All right. Good morning, P-Town Ice Daily Show. Happy Thursday morning. I hope your day is off to a great start. My name is Alan. I'm happy to be your host today. Currently, I have the pleasure of serving as a faculty member in our fitness athlete division and a chief operating officer here at the Institute of Clinical Excellence here on the P-Town Ice Daily Show on Thursdays. It is Leadership Thursday. We talk all things practice management, ownership, leadership, small business management. And it is Leadership Thursday, which means it is Gut Check Thursday. Gut Check Thursday this week. I had the pleasure of testing this out last week, last Sunday, actually. It is an interval-based workout, so it is not going for reps or weight or anything like that. Everyone is going to be essentially doing the same workout. It's just a matter of the faster you finish it, the more rest you get, and the more sustainable it becomes. So it is every 2 minutes for 10 sets. You're going to do 10 calories for the gentlemen on a fan bike or 8 calories for the ladies. Getting off the bike, you're going to go into 3 power cleans. The weight written here, 155 for gentlemen, 105 for ladies. That should be a moderately heavy barbell, something that you could do for maybe those 3 reps touch and go. But for most people, it's probably going to look like quick singles. And the goal here is to get done in a minute to a minute 15. So you have 45 seconds to a minute of rest before the clock beeps again. So 20 minutes total in the gym, but only ideally 10 minutes of actual working time. Those of you who can really hammer the bike, get the bike done in maybe 20 to 30 seconds on the fast end, get off and really rip through those power cleans. You're going to find yourselves getting done by maybe the 30-second mark for really fit folks, to maybe 45 seconds on the fast end, in buying yourselves more than one-to-one rest. So have fun with that. It's great, kind of mindless, grindy type stuff. You don't really have to think about it. You don't have to think about counting reps. Just ride the bike, hit some power cleans, rest a little bit, and repeat. Courses coming your way from ICE. Just check out p10ice.com. We are approaching having 500 live courses booked for this year. Most of our divisions are full for 2023, booking into 2024. We have a couple divisions looking at booking into 2025 already. So if you're looking to find us, we're probably coming to your area. It's probably likely. And if not, hit that host a course tab on our website and see what it takes to bring us out to your neck of the woods. Some courses coming up the next 2 weekends for live courses. The weekend of February 11th and 12th, you can catch Jordan Berry out in Denver for cervical management. You can catch Mitch up in Stillwater, Minnesota. That's outside of the Twin Cities for Fitness Athlete Live. Paul will be down in Richmond, Virginia for dry needling lower quadrant. Lindsay Huey will be in Knoxville, Tennessee for extremity management. And then Alex Germano will be in Sparks, Glencoe, Maryland for older adult live. And then the next weekend after that, the weekend of February 18th and 19th, Zach Morgan will have cervical spine management down in Woodstock, Georgia. Alexis Morgan will be down in the Woodlands, Texas for pregnancy postpartum live. Fun fact about me, I was born and raised in Texas, right outside of the Woodlands. Woodlands is where the rich people live. I'm from a small town called Humble. The hospital I was born out, it's actually condemned and destroyed. Fun fact about me. But that's my neck of the woods. So you can join Alexis down at Rachel Moore's gym in the Woodlands. And then out on the West Coast, Mark will be out in Bellingham, Washington for extremity management. Dustin Jones will be in Kewanee, Illinois for older adult live. That's out near the Iowa border side of Illinois. And then Justin Dunn will be in Oklahoma City for total spine thrust manipulation. And then as always, our 8-week online courses are always rolling. Your next chance to catch Fitness Athlete Advanced Concepts will be February 26th. Older Adult Essential Foundations, March 1st. Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations with myself, Mitch, Kelly, and Guillermo will be firing back up March 6th. And then also that same day, you can join Christina, Alexis for Fitness Athlete Pregnancy and Postpartum online. So that's what's coming your way course-wise. Let's get into today's topic. Let's talk about payment hybridization. What is it? Why would we engage in it? How do we do it? And when would we want to do it? So let's talk about what it is first. If you're not familiar with the concept, we need to say step back and kind of lay the framework of how do the majority of physical therapists get paid. The vast majority, about 90% of physical therapists get paid with the traditional insurance model reimbursement system. There are about 40,000 physical therapy clinics in the country, and the vast majority of those at least take some insurance plans. We know cash-based physical therapy is getting larger, but it's still a very small chunk of the overall physical therapy market. So if the majority of clinics are in network, some are completely out of network. Where's the middle ground? Well, that is the concept of payment hybridization, of taking a traditional insurance-based physical therapy clinic that accepts every insurance that they can possibly accept and transitioning to look more like a cash-based physical therapy clinic. So today we're going to talk about that concept, why we would do it, how it actually happens, and when we would want to do that. We're also going to give you some resources at the end of the show of how to learn more about this from groups that are completely engaged in this market in a way that ICE is not. So let's start with the first point. Why would we do this? Well, the most obvious answer is to increase our payment per visit, right? Probably the number one thing we hear from physical therapists is reimbursement is low, and it doesn't seem like it's going to increase. It's decreasing every year. Medicare is making cuts. Blue Cross is making cuts. There's just no way to make more money seeing the same amount of patients. And kind of the argument for the high volume PT mill model is that lowering reimbursements with all these insurances means that we have to force our therapists to see more patients per hour to keep revenue where it's at, or to even have a hope of increasing our overall revenue. And we're going to push back on that a little bit and say, the concept of payment hybridization says, well, why don't we just stop taking the insurances that don't pay very well and or have a lot of back end work so that we increase our revenue per hour and decrease logistical load, time spent by therapists on documentation, and overall, most importantly, increase our patient care quality. Instead of seeing 4 or 5 or 6 people per hour, seeing somebody every 15 minutes, double books, that sort of thing that we have all experienced at some point in our career. Why don't we just try to get more money per visit by dropping those low-paying insurers? So the first place to start is to look through and have back-end access to what you're actually getting paid per visit. Now, a lot of clinic owners may not even know this. They may use a third-party billing service, and they just see money show up in their account from the billing service. The billing service is the one sending out the claims, collecting the money, and they are the ones that know what's actually being paid per visit. You can find that out from them and ask them. You can also look through the contracts you've signed with the insurance companies and find out what you're being paid. And when you go through those, if you don't know this already, this information already, be prepared. It's going to really frustrate and disappoint you. You will learn that from your HMOs, from your flat rate payers, your work comp payers, you are not getting paid a lot per visit. You might be taking patients who have a work comp plan or HMO plan that might pay $40, $50, $60 flat rate. That's it. No matter how much time you spend with that person, no matter the quality of care you give to that person, it's a flat rate visit. Those are the things that really pull down our reimbursement, our pay per hour in a way that makes physical therapy seem financially unsustainable. Furthermore, those same insurances tend to be the ones that have the largest logistical load, especially those HMO plans, those work comp plans. These are the insurances that need authorizations. Hey, so-and-so got ran over by a bus. Every joint in their body is broken. They're probably going to need like 6 months of physical therapy. And these are the insurance companies that say, cool, here's 4 visits. Best of luck, right? And we know that going through that process on the phone or on the computer can take 10, 20, 30, 45 minutes per patient. And it really drives up the logistical load of taking that insurance on top of the insurance not paying very well. So that brings us to our second point of, if we know that we have some insurances that we want to dump, how do we do that? It can be as easy as just no longer taking that insurance. I would say that's the rash approach. Having some data here is very important. You need to understand, if you don't already know, if you're a clinic manager, clinic owner, of what are you actually making per hour that you are operating your business, whether you're a solo practitioner, side hustle person, whether you have 7 locations and 35 therapists, it doesn't matter. You need to know what you're making per hour. And that comes at the back end of a couple of different calculations of what is our reimbursement, our average reimbursement per visit? What am I paying per hour to have the therapist see those patients? What is the clinic paying physically to be open for business? Those are all numbers that you need to have access to. You need to know that average payment across all of your sources, whether that's Blue Cross, Medicare, people paying cash that you're out of network with, doesn't matter. You need to know how much gross revenue you're making. You need to know how much you're paying your therapists. This is quite easy if you're paying by hour or by visit. This can be a lot more difficult if you're paying a flat salary. So you'll need to do some math crunching there. And then you also need to do probably arguably the hardest calculation here, which is how much does it cost the clinic to see a patient? When we talk about the clinic needs power, it needs internet, it needs EMRs, it needs needles, it needs spray and wipes to clean the tables. All those little things seem like small things, but added up together, what are the 37 different things that compose the cost to see the patient? For example, at the clinic that I own here in Michigan with Mitch Babcock, it costs us about $17 an hour to be open. That is factoring all those different things together. So you need to know all of those numbers so you know, what am I actually getting paid? What is the clinic making profit wise after we make whatever we're making on average per hour, after we pay the therapist, and after we pay physically to have the clinic open for that hour that the patient was here. So what am I currently making per patient? And then we need to ask ourselves, what would I like to make per patient? That when you run those numbers, you'll probably find most insurance-based clinics are around $100 an hour or less after all of that said and done. And that's probably a lot less than the second part of that question of what would I like to make? I would like to make, well, what my cash rate is, 125 an hour, 150 an hour, 175 an hour. So how do I close that gap between what I want to make and what I'm currently making, which is often a limitation of the insurances that I'm accepting? And now the how becomes more data driven, and it does become as simple as simply eliminating those contracts with those insurers who pay below that, right? If you want to make 125 an hour and you have an HMO that gives you 50 flat rate per visit, you have two choices: drop that payer or see three of those patients per hour, right? One of those is really unethical, immoral, and unfair to your therapist. The other plan of action is a lot more sustainable in the long term of just dropping that insurance. And then those patients who carry that insurance simply become out of network or cash-based patients that you set a date of, hey, January 1st, June 1st, whatever, we're no longer accepting this insurance. After that date, hey, sorry, you might want to have people carry out their plan of care beyond that date, but we're taking no new patients with that insurance after this date. You will have to pay cash. And now, probably the hardest part, the third point here, is when do we know we can do this? Some of us will say, well, I'll just take only the insurances that pay very well and not accept the others. And we need to know that there's a rub here, right? Of you are ready to do this. It is a luxury to do this when you have focused on getting good, not busy. That when you tell that patient who has come to see you for years that you're no longer accepting their insurance, they say, no problem. What do I owe? Where do I swipe my card? Instead of, go ahead and cancel the rest of my visits, I'm going to go to the clinic down the street where I can use my insurance, right? They have not bought in. They don't see the value that you're delivering. They are more concerned with paying the least amount of possible for their care as possible and not getting the best value for their money. So it is a luxury of expert practice of delivering excellent care that when you have that tough conversation in person, by the way, starting your next visit, we're not going to be able to take your insurance. Hey, I know we saw you a couple years ago after you had that accident on your bike, but just so you know, we no longer take your insurance. Those patients that you delivered excellent care for are the ones most likely to say, no problem, I'm happy paying cash. This is also a situation where you are at a point where demand for your care exceeds your supply, right? That's a great position to be in when people want to see you more than you have time to see them. That is a great time to say it is now time to drop some of these low paying insurance contracts and begin to look at payment hybridization. So when your staff is consistently delivering excellent outcomes, and you can begin to transition those patients to cash-based PT, it is time to drop some of those contracts and shift and become more of an out-of-network or cash-based PT practice. So that's the why, that's the how, that's the when. Let's finish with a couple of resources before you go out the door today. I do want to give a nod to the concept of MSOs, or managed service organizations. This is essentially, you can think of this like a union for PT clinics. These are larger groups of PT clinics who are not the same company. These are independent private practices that have banded together, and they share usually central billing, and they also share outcomes data and central insurance negotiating. So some good examples here. We have therapy partners in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota. Shout out to Maggie and her group. I think she has about 80 clinics now. That might be the largest MSO in the country. So all of the clinics in that MSO are independent. They have their own owners. They practice how they want. They see who they want, but they come together and they pool some resources together. And with that shared pooling of resources comes the ability to negotiate with insurance companies for higher reimbursements on those contract agreements. Now, the caveat there is that comes with a lot of control, a control over billing of, hey, we're going to have a central billing, a third-party central independent billing company that's going to make sure that all the billing is being done correctly, ethically, legally. We're not going to be billing people 7 units. We're not going to have patients that get 7 units of just modalities or passive stuff. We're going to be billing efficiently, ethically. We're going to be getting what we deserve, but we're not going to try to just maximize our units per patient like a lot of larger corporate clinic chains might do. So control over billing, and then control over outcomes of the patients who come to the clinics in this MSO get better. They get better faster than patients who go to other clinics. And as a result, that MSO has the negotiating power with those insurance companies to negotiate for higher reimbursements so they can continue to see patients from those insurance companies, but make the money they want to make from those insurance contracts. So that is another option. My heart of hearts tells me that is not a realistic expectation for the majority of PT clinics in the country because of the tight control over billing and the tight control over outcomes, right? You cannot go and get just an hour of dry needling. You cannot go and work with a high school student for an hour and get billed 7 units. That is not control over billing or outcomes. So I think having MSOs across the country is just simply unrealistic with the way that some clinic groups practice in our profession currently. That expectation of quality treatment is out there. Other resources, if you're trying to get into this realm, if you want to expand your knowledge here, if you're thinking about doing this and you want some strategies for this, of how to become a more efficient out-of-network practice, there are a lot of resources out there. Full Draw Consulting, Sarah and Kate have a 100% out-of-network course called Out-of-Network Step by Step, starting an out-of-network PT practice. That's a great place to start. There are a lot of other resources and courses and mentorship programs out there on this topic of either transitioning from an insurance-based clinic to a hybrid clinic or transitioning all the way to a cash-based clinic. They're out there. I'll just say, be careful, right? Something that costs $10,000 in a lump sum payment is probably not the best use of your money. Be sure of what you're going to get. Hey, is there like a curriculum? Is there objectives? Some programs just mail you some Google templates for how to talk to patients on the phone and how to do your documentation in Google Docs to save money on an EMR. Make sure you don't get trapped by that stuff. Make sure you work with some high quality folks who can really help you mentor in this space if you're thinking about making this transition. So that's payment hybridization, what it is, why you might do it, how you would do it, when to know you're ready to do it, and then some alternative options to increase your insurance reimbursement rates, and then some resources as well to learn more in this area. So hope this was helpful. Hope you all have a fantastic Thursday. Have fun with Gut Check. If you're coming to Fenton this weekend for extremity management, we're excited to have you this weekend. Other than that, have a great Thursday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.